Well, good afternoon everyone. It's a while since I've done a live off the phone, so I thought I'd bring you out around the forest while it's looking lovely and autumnal. The lives off the GoPro give a much smoother picture, really like them, but there's no way of actually telling you all what they're about or putting a thumbnail in, which was a bit of a shame. But we're out for sort of a nice break in the day. I've come off a night shift, so I've been sleeping this morning. I had a very short walk first thing this morning, and now I'm up giving them more of a walk. Hey guys! Merlin, you are such a hooligan. So anyone local here in Devon will recognise this walk. And we finally got water in the river again. This was dry for so long this year. Happy little duck dog. Good girl. You good boy, Miles. Now Devon is hilly. There's no getting around it really. Even walks that you think are flat, like the Tarka line, they're not. You can see we've got a bit of red coming in on the ferns, some yellow coming in. As I found myself saying quite a lot recently, all our forests, although quite close together, give very, very different feels. Hi everyone, nice to have you along. We're out in the forest today, in Devon, in England, the UK. I've got Oti, my good girl, my Nova Scotia duck tolling retriever with me, and Merlin, who's a working sheepdog Corgi Cross. Thank you very much for asking. I am tired. I've come up for night shift. I've had fairly decent sleep, but the idea is I'll give the dogs a nice walk and then I'll go back for a bit more of a sleep afterwards. So you can see it's a little bit of a damp day here in the UK, but it's not full on raining. I've just got a very lightweight jacket on, which is nice. It's these days, it's this amount of rain that means we have these wonderful green forests. So those of you who know us know I had COVID again recently, so my breathing's not great. Sorry, you leave me puffing a bit going up here. You can see we've got a massive variety of trees, foliage, plants. These ferns are particularly wonderful. Now we walk all over the UK, but this is our most local. And this is a nice loop. It's a 0.89 mile, so just under a mile. There's a river running down the gully in the middle. So even in the summer, in the hottest of weather, there's always somewhere for the dogs to grab a drink, which is ideal, and have a bit of a cool off. They found the pool to play in. Happy little dogs. Hey guys, is that nice? Is that good? Okay. Okay. It looks pretty filthy, but I don't mind because later on they'll go in the river, in the cleaner water. We've even got a little waterfall coming down there. Good girl, you can go in too, darling. Good girl. But this is why I make the effort to drive out and do some of these walks as often as I can, usually most days, because there's so much interest in them for the dogs. Compare this to walking on lead around the block. That does its job occasionally. There's definitely a place for it, but if that's all you do, it's not the most interesting for the dogs. And coming out here, particularly young Merlin, actually both of them, will get far more exercise than if I had to keep them on lead. It's proper feel good. I've really realised, particularly in the last 6 months to a year, I need this in my life. It's all very well. I've been working ridiculous hours, and I've worked long hours now for 25 years in various jobs. I was looking at arranging a dog walker. I have somebody comes and lets the dogs out when I'm on day turns. He sits with them for sort of 20 minutes after they've had a wee, plays with them. But I thought, this is ridiculous. If I'm getting to the point where I'm paying someone else to walk my dogs, it's not what I want in life. I need the walking. I want to be out with them. So I've just had a bit of a change at work. Looking at earning a little bit less, tightening things a little bit, but gaining better quality of life and better sleep patterns. So I don't know about all of you, I've been sort of permanently looking forward to when I retire. Well, I'm 43 today. Retiring's not going to be for another 24, 25 years. That's a long time to manage, to get by, to struggle tired. And who says I'll actually make it to retirement or much past it? So just had a little bit of a rethink. Here in Britain, the UK, with my wage and the compulsory Sundays we do on the railway, which are great, they're good earners. After that, pretty much everything I earn is taxed at 40%. So I'm sat at work to not be paid for 4.5 hours, 5 hours of my shift. It's a lot to take on board. And that's why I've just had a little bit of a change in thinking. Hey, you've got beetle. It's not a stag beetle. We get quite a lot of stag beetles around here. There was one year, it hasn't happened this year thankfully, but one year seemed to find them every sort of few hundred metres and have to turn them over. They really weren't doing very well that year. I don't know how clearly the colour's coming out for you guys. I'll stop for a minute so you can have a look. But we've got quite a lot of the leaves have fallen now. So we're looking really quite autumnal. We don't get as stunning here in England as it does in sort of certainly large parts of Scotland and Wales, for example. But we do get some lovely autumns, provided the trees don't have their leaves taken off too early. So it all depends on weather conditions. Now I've negotiated a bit of time off in the near future. I'll be doing some video walks from some lovely places, planning on getting to a couple of National Trust places in Cornwall, some gardens, places that people more usually visit in the summer, but look just as stunning, if not more so, in the autumn and the winter. And then the Christmas season, we're very lucky here. I'm a member of what's called the Eden Project, which was, hello gorgeous, is a project in Cornwall, in an old mine, and they built biomes, basically grew a rainforest. So one biome is a rainforest complete with lizards and geckos and birds and things, and some amazing plants. And the other biome is Mediterranean. It's a bit cooler, different feel, but really interesting. And it's one of my favourite places to visit. I'm local enough that I can get over there fairly regularly in the year. So I want to go over and do a daytime visit in the next few weeks. And then I've got my mum coming to stay in a month or two. And we're going to go to the nighttime Eden Project, where they light it all up, which is wonderful. And then we're also very fortunate, we've got Torquay Trail of Lights, which is free to access, and it's a wonderful light trail through gardens and along the sort of shore, along the, I suppose, the prom, and through into town. But I've been the last couple of years. Yes, last year was wet, very wet. I took Merlin in my rucksack. He was tiny then, and he got soaking wet. I obviously didn't care. But I want to get around that this year. And then there's also another exhibit up, which I might get to in the next couple of weeks, called the Field of Lights. And that sounds brilliant. This is where I'm figuring out if I'm going to take a bit more time off. I'm not going to have quite as much money, but there are so many free things to make use of. You're just paying petrol or train fare to get there. So I've got an Eden Project membership, which I make good use of. Oh, aren't those ferns gorgeous? Aren't they lovely? All these lovely little trails that dogs go and explore on. And then I've got National Trust membership, which those two between them, the Eden Project is about £60 a year, National Trust £6 a month, so you're not talking major amounts, and I get really good use of them. Make use of them. We have less in the countryside in the UK, obviously, than there is in the cities. Cities I can access free museums, free entertainment every day. I didn't live in the city for long, but I lived in Mill Hill in London for 2 years. And there were always comedy clubs looking for audience, filming looking for audience. You could really sort of go off and enjoy yourself and not cost a lot. And obviously there's a limit on what you pay for public transport. There we go, that's the river that they've been down in for a dip. So we do miss out a bit in the countryside, but then we get, like I say, all the other exhibits and things, and the natural stuff. We've got these forests, we've got these woods. This is all free to access. And if people remain sensible, dig your hell, and don't litter, don't try and stay right in car parks and things, it'll remain free to access. And how lucky are we? So where I am now is Forestry England. And near me, we have got at least 7 Forestry England car parked. Woodland to walk, which that's within 10 miles of me, which I think is amazing. And then a little bit further over, we've got, look at that colour, wow, we've got Howen Forest, which you do need to pay to access, pay for parking, but the difference is that takes a lot of maintenance. They've got some amazing walking bike trails, and Oti and I enjoy going around the bike trails there. I haven't taken Merlin yet, it's still a little bit young, and I came off my bike last year and damaged my knee, so I'm not doing as much cycling at the moment. But all of this, you can see, because I'm able to come in the middle of the day, I've not seen anyone yet. Different times of day, weekends, bank holiday, sometimes it's too busy for me and I just carry on. Other times, we meet up with friends and go for a lovely wander. And let dogs play with other friends. Poppy fields. I'm just thinking about what we actually have. The poppy fields in Cornwall, that's all free. There might be contribution to car parking if you need to drive there. But we're talking a couple of pounds to go and spend a couple of hours wandering around an amazing sight, often on a wonderful summer's evening. I think what I'm saying is, I hear so many people talking about bored kids, bored this, bored that in the UK. Will say a lot has to be accessible by car. That is a big difference. So I'm just going to call the dogs back. Merlin, Oti! Puppy puppies! They just sprang up a little bit too lively for me. So they've seen someone. Good dogs, well done. Well done, guys. Hiya! Good boy. Merlin, sit. Good boy. Oti. Good girl. Okay. Well done, guys. So yeah, a lot of them you do have to access by car, but this particular woodland is accessible by train. There's a little bit of a walk on the road, but it's not much. I would recommend high vis, because it is a 60-mile-an-hour road actually. But you're not far from the station at all. Eden Project's accessible by station, by train. Lots of places accessible by bus. You just have to think a little bit more outside the box to get to these places. Dartmoor. I live near Dartmoor, it's wonderful. Plenty of access again by train, by bus. I do feel so lucky. I have travelled. I've been to New Zealand twice. Good boy, Merly. He's a good lad. Hey, gorgeous. Hello. My big brother lives out there with his daughter. I've had a wonderful, wonderful time visiting him. Stayed for a month the first time with my dad, and we had a motorhome and toured both islands. But there's so much more to see. I think it's very easy. It's like Scotland. I've just been back for the 3rd year in a row. I lived there for 2 years. But there's so much of Scotland to see. It's too easy to think I've ticked it off the list, done it. Whereas actually, once you get past the more popular touristy areas, there really is so much more. Again, we've got these lovely colours, but this is really taken a battering by the rain the last couple of nights. If we look down here into the river, so the water levels are picking up for the winter, and you can see that wonderful moss on these trees, and that shows that the trees are healthy. There, Oti's having a nice paddle down there. Merlin's going to go down and join her. So I'm going to copy Big Sister and go her route. Isn't this nice for them? This is nice for me, like I say. Great for them. Good job, guys. Well done. I'll carry on walking. And that sound of the running water, I've always loved that. When I lived in Scotland, I was at the bottom of Benihee, one of the mountains, and all the trails around the bottom of it had running water next to them, which is just wonderful. Like I say, this isn't a long walk. I'm not particularly fit at the moment, so it's taking me a bit longer than others would. And to be honest, I'm not rushing. This is the dog's time. This is their enjoyment. But what are we at? We've just over 20 minutes now. We'll be back towards the car by 25 minutes. You're not talking a major chunk of time of the day for the dogs to have had a really nice, interesting walk and for me to have got out. When I'm working nights, I find it really important to get out in daytime, see the daylight, and just hear nature basically. Silly as that sounds, I think we all forget that. For those of you who haven't followed me before, please do subscribe. I've got some lovely videos, much better quality than the lives obviously, all around the UK. Wonderful, wonderful walks. But a little bit about myself. I left school midway through A-levels. I struggled with people, to be honest. There was nothing against any particular people, just me as a person struggled in that proximity. Went off to ride out racehorses because it was pretty much all I could do when I was told I needed a job that week then. So I went and got one, lived in, and then I spent 18 years in live-in jobs as a carriage driver, rider, groom, instructor. Had a pretty wonderful life actually. Tough times. You're talking very, very long hours and can be a very physically demanding job. Living in a wide assortment of sort of properties all around the UK. Even being homeless at times. Certainly with one job. Had some amazing opportunities, driving a pair at the Highland Show, various other shows, working for a brewery, delivering with their shires. That was pretty amazing. Riding some wonderful eventers, teaching some amazing, amazing people. I've met some brilliant people over the years. It really is a privilege. Working at an outdoor activity centre for people with disabilities, carriage driver and a riding instructor, and you see people beating everything and just winning at life, and that is so cool. But I was in my last job. I sort of took a slightly easier last job, working for some of our wonderful British reiners with Western Riding. Lovely, lovely job, but my body broke down more and more. Aha, Merlin has found a spaniel to play with. Spaniels are always good fun. So we've got one that's up playing, one that's a little bit more nervous. Hiya. Merlin, the other one wants to play, not that one. That's it. You're welcome. Good job, guys. This way. So my dogs are pretty well socialised. They know when another dog says, no, I don't want to play. You just say, oh, okay, move on. And that's why they're trusted off lead. So yes, I had some wonderful jobs, wonderful experiences, but my body was breaking down. I now know that I had fibromyalgia. Didn't know at the time, and one of the biggest giveaways was plantar fasciitis. I got to the point of that last job where I couldn't walk at the end of the day. My feet hurt so much. That was the point at which I had to change. So started applying for jobs on the railway. Got offered a job as a guard in a pool, but decided that probably wasn't for me on very busy trains. I was still teaching for the Western Yard, as I could do that, and that was keeping the rent paid. And one of the ladies I was teaching said, I'm a signaller on the railway. Have you considered it? And I said, nope. I was aware of what the job entailed, as my dad's majored in heritage lines. So we've grown up sort of going around heritage railways. And her sister and her dad were all signallers. And so she sort of described it in far more detail, because although I had an awareness, I didn't really know what it was all about. Applied for signalling and crossing keeper jobs. Went to testing centre, passed everything to be a signaller, decided to start at bottom as a crossing keeper. And 8 years later, I've been working for Network Rail now. 2 years as a crossing keeper in 2 locations, 6 years as a signaller, and that's enabled me to move back to Devon, which I love the area. I miss being close to my family, but I can't afford to live close to my family. It's the dilemma many of us have at the moment, isn't it? So that's it, that's where we're at today. But I was used to being outdoors, out in the daylight, all year round. And the horrible weather that went with it. But the daylight mainly. And this is where it's taken me a little while now to realise that I need that. So it's just balancing, particularly over winter. I don't work too many day turns and have too many days where I go to work in the dark and come home in the dark. And I think we're getting there with that balance. And that is how I get to come out and enjoy some of these wonderful areas when they're quieter. Merlin, Oti! Well done, guys. I've had people ask me, how come you're out walking? How come you're out doing this? Getting a job. Believe me, it's not that I don't work a job. I do a basic 42-hour week with overtime on top. That's a bit I'm cutting out. But not everyone you see out in the daytime doesn't work. There are a lot of shift workers around. We're nearly back to the car park, so it's like time to say goodbye. But it's been absolutely lovely having you all along with us. I hope you've enjoyed your lunchtime walk. Guys, here. So I'll get the dogs on lead, because obviously I never go into a car park with them off lead. But it's been really lovely having you along. And hopefully we'll see you again soon. Have a look at some of their other videos. And take care, everyone. Hey, gorgeous, you're tired now. Take care, everyone. And we'll see you all again soon. Good girl. Good boy.